Hey, let's talk Florida kayaking. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the Haulover Canal, which is on the eastern coast of central Florida. It connects the Indian River to the Mosquito Lagoon. This video focuses on logistics for people who are interested in kayaking for fun at the Haulover Canal for the first time. It includes information on where to park, where to launch your kayak, restroom accommodations, recommended routes for short, medium, and whole day trips, and more. If you want to see motion footage and photographs from my adventures at the Haulover Canal, then check out my Haulover Canal Scenes video. There should be a link below. For the purposes of this video, let's first take a look at the launch location. The Haulover Canal is technically in Mims, Florida. That's Mims. People often refer to the Haulover Canal as being in Titusville because that's the nearest town. If you want to find it, using Google, search for Haulover Canal Kayak Launch, or you can use the GPS coordinates shown here. Here's a zoomed map view showing the launch location. Or maybe it's better if I show you with an action-packed sequence. We are south of the Haulover Canal drawbridge, heading north on North Courtenay Parkway. Now we come to the drawbridge. If you follow one of my recommended routes, you will kayak underneath this bridge during your trip. 1,700 feet, or 213 meters north of the bridge, you will come to an unpaved road. Google Maps refers to it as Taylor Street, but the road sign identifies it as Northwest Haulover Road, so don't get confused. Follow that road to where it dead ends. That's the parking and launch location. As you drive along this road, the canal will be to your left. You'll see pull-off areas where people park to fish from the bank all day long. When you get to the launch area, you should have no trouble finding a place to park. You'll probably see other kayaks there. Quite a few, perhaps, because it's a popular spot, and some of the paid kayaking tours launch from this location. I recommend taking one of the bioluminescence tours if you haven't done that. It's awesome, and this is a great spot for it, but you have to go at night, and the best time of year is between the months of June and October. Just do a Google search for Florida Haulover Canal bioluminescence kayak tours, and you'll find all the information you need. This, then, is the launch location. There is no launch fee. There is, however, a convenient roundabout so you can offload your kayak. The restroom facilities are Spartan. As you can see, it's basically porta potties. If you want an alternative parking option, you can use the Bears Cove boat ramp. That location is shown here. It's great if you want to put a boat in the water, but it's not as good for launching kayaks. As far as where to go once you're in the water, here's my recommended route for a short trip. It's approximately 3 miles. It'll take about 2 hours, depending on how fast you go. You start and finish at the launch point, identified here as Location 1. If you go at night for a bioluminescence tour, this spot, Location 2 in Bears Cove, is where most of the tours will take you. It's a great spot to observe that phenomenon, but again, go at the peak time of year and only at night when it's completely dark. That's if you're taking a bioluminescence tour. If you're doing one of the routes recommended in this video, do those during daylight hours. So then, here at Location 3 on the eastern side of Bears Cove, a few short kayaking trails have been carved out of the fringe mangroves. Look, here's a closer view of it. My recommended routes will take you on a quick loop through this area. I should note that I have seen alligators in this location from time to time. I've never had any trouble with them, and they usually aren't at all interested in interacting with humans, but they are wild animals. So if you see one, don't try to commune with it. After your loop through Bears Cove, you'll move into the Haulover Canal itself, where you'll head east to the drawbridge, shown here as location 4. And then you'll go underneath the drawbridge. You'll want to be watchful when kayaking in the canal because boats are constantly moving through in both directions. Also, people fish from the banks on either side, and they can cast their lines out surprisingly far. As you go underneath the drawbridge, make sure to pay heed to the signs posted on the wooden fenders. Just beyond the drawbridge, on the northern bank of the canal, which should be to your left, you'll see a manatee overlook platform, and during the day there will most likely be people there, hoping to catch a glimpse of one of these slow-moving, curious-natured herbivores, which are sometimes referred to colloquially as sea cows. As a kayaker, you've got a very good chance of seeing manatees and or dolphins anywhere in the canal. My recommended short route turns you around at the Manatee Overlook, location 5, to take you back to the kayak launch point, where you'll end your journey. If the short trip isn't enough for you, then, in order to get extra joy, here is my recommended route for a medium-length trip. It continues on from the Manatee Observation Point, where the short trip turns back. The medium-length trip is approximately 5.5 miles. It'll take you 3 hours or so, depending on how fast you go. This route takes you toward the eastern end of the canal, but instead of exiting the canal into the Mosquito Lagoon, you take a left here at location number 6, and you go into an area that is buffered from the Mosquito Lagoon by a string of spoil islands. These man-made spoil islands act to form a sort of protected little bay area where the water tends to be calm versus the normally more turbulent situation in the Mosquito Lagoon and Intracoastal Waterway. I often see dolphins chasing fish and playing in this area. It's very scenic. It's very nice. You'll enjoy spectacular bird sightings: cranes, owls, woodpeckers, pelicans, skimmers, terns, anhingas, storks, spoonbills, osprey, falcons, hawks, vultures, bald eagles. It's all there. But wait, there's more. In the area that is now flashing on the map, there used to be a town called Allenhurst. That town was one of 17 communities which used to exist along North Courtenay Parkway but were abandoned in the early 1960s. NASA purchased the land at that time. They bought out the homeowners and made them leave. The buildings in those towns were then destroyed. NASA developed the land, which now includes the Canaveral National Seashore, Apollo Beach, Linda Beach, Titusville Beach and the Space Launch Complex area, the Haulover Canal and the ghost towns along North Courtenay Parkway, the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge, the NASA Shuttle Landing Facility, Kennedy Space Center, and Visitor Complex. If you approach the shoreline near the flashing area on the map, you'll see remnants of some of the buildings of Allenhurst. You'll see cement foundations, pylons for piers and boat docks in the water. If the medium-length trip still isn't enough, then maybe you've got what it takes for a whole day trip. Here's my recommended route for that. It takes you out of the Haulover Canal and across the Mosquito Lagoon to the barrier island that separates the Mosquito Lagoon from the Atlantic Ocean, which you see here in the corner of the map, that little aqua blue triangulate there. As you leave the Haulover Canal, heading east to cross Mosquito Lagoon, you will see green and red channel markers for the Intracoastal Waterway. Watch for boats moving in the channel in either direction. Once you're out of the ICW, you might see small buoys in the water. These will be attached to crab pots. Don't mess with them. If you look to your right while crossing the lagoon, you'll see NASA's Vehicle Assembly Building, or VAB, in the distance. This building has been used to assemble pre-manufactured space vehicle components for the Saturn V rocket in support of the Apollo program. Also, the Space Shuttle. It is now being used to assemble the first Space Launch System SLS Super Heavy Lift Expendable Launch Vehicle in support of the Artemis missions. On the eastern side of the lagoon, there are more spoil islands and fringe mangrove areas to explore. You might find places where you can go ashore to stretch your legs or answer the call of nature. But watch where you step. There might be oyster and clam shells, some of them broken and jagged, or horseshoe crabs, or mushroom-capped jellyfish, or little sand crabs, or small prickly pear cacti, or other things that you might not want to step on. Hey, you know what? Sometimes I like to fire up my smartphone and call up Google Maps to see where I am with respect to my intended destination. It can be a handy tool if you lose your sense of direction for any reason. The long trip route is approximately 10.5 miles. It'll take you 5 or 6 hours, depending on how fast you go. And that brings us to the end of the story. As I said, if you want to see actual kayaking clips and photographs from this area, see my Haulover Canal scenes video. If you decide to go kayaking at Haulover Canal, I hope you stay safe and have a great time. Remember to take water and lots of sunblock. And oh, one last thing. If you found this video helpful, then do me a solid, won't you? And set me up with a like and or a follow. I would be tickled pink if you did that. And now, until next time, the end.